When you live in a world with Dwayne Johnson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Danny DeVito, it's easy to become jaded by these hulking men with huge muscles. But some people just seem to have an inhuman level of strength. From a man with a unique world record to the king of the jungle, here are the 15 strongest people on the planet. Number 15. Zydrunas Savickas. Admit it, the name alone is more than enough to terrify you. Zydrunas Savickas is one of the strongest men in the world, and while I don't have the facts to back this up, probably the strongest man in Lithuania. I'm sorry to any Lithuanian viewers that are offended, I just don't want to get punched. Savickas holds the impressive label of being the only modern competitor to have won every single major strongman competition. From the world's strongest man to Europe's strongest man and Lithuania's strongest man. That last one, by the way, he won 15 times. Go look at his lifting history. It's like he invented the contests. While many other strong men have similarly achieved near constant greatness, no other lifter has managed to win every single major strongman contest. That's a level of testosterone that even the experts have yet to reach. When he's not lifting absurdly heavy things, Savickas maintains a YouTube channel where he talks about fitness and other strongman-related topics. Things like diet, training, whether or not Inception was all a dream, all your usual strongman stuff. Actually, the Inception stuff might have been a different guy. I think Savickas sticks strictly to Disney. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. It's time for the rare topic. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to a man that may or may not be very real. And by man, I mean a hulking set of muscles with a head. Raul is allegedly one of the strongest men in the world, having broken some world records. Don't ask which, and turned his success into a personal training business in Germany. Of course, given that just about any of his muscles are bigger than this woman's head, you could easily believe that. But is it even possible for a guy to be this big and muscular? I mean, his head looks like a grape by comparison. Let me know what you think. Is this guy just naturally built, or is it all a big, elaborate hoax? Remember to comment down below with the hashtag #RareTopic, and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. And now, to the next topic. Number 14. Mark Henry. The world's strongest man, the king of the jungle, the Texas Silverback. All of these nicknames describe Mark Henry, practically a living legend of the WWE world. This guy's not just strong, he's a record-breaking American beast of a strongman. To sum up briefly, Henry is a two-time Olympian, a two-time US national champion, a gold, silver, and bronze medalist at the Pan American Games, WDWPF world champion, and holds the all-time world record in the squat and deadlift. In fact, that last achievement goes a little farther. Mark Henry is credited with pulling off, and I quote, the greatest raw deadlift by an American citizen. Mark Twain who? All of that is impressive in its own right, but Henry is probably most well known for his wrestling career.
Stop him. There is the cover by Mark Henry, and Mysterio kicks out at one.
He's a WWF European Champion and a two-time World Champion, and was even inducted into the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Seriously, who is Mark Twain? Despite retiring from wrestling in 2017, Henry remains a legend in the world of WWE. And he should really be a legend everywhere else too. At least until some other American citizen proves himself more worthy. Mark Twain, I'm looking at you. Number 13. Bill Kazmaier. Despite having been retired from the field of weightlifting since 1992, Bill Kazmaier is still one of the most celebrated strongmen ever. Part of that is through his own efforts, having named himself the strongest man who ever lived. in the 1980s. To be fair, probably accurate. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, Kazmaier won 3 World's Strongest Man titles in a row, while setting a whole bunch of powerlifting and strongman world records.
So what I did was slap myself in the face, got absolutely berserk.
And that's before we even get to his 2 International Powerlifting Federation World Championships. Basically, the guy was a world-class lifter and is understandably considered one of the greatest competitors in history. Unfortunately, he was later voted the 3rd strongest man that ever lived, behind Mark Henry and Zydrunas Savickas. So he was undoubtedly a great weightlifter, but self-assessment was perhaps not his strong suit. After retiring from weightlifting, Kazmaier tried his hand at a whole bunch of other sports, but found his best chances in wrestling. Today, he comments on the world's strongest man broadcasts, and often travels around the world, motivating school children and YMCA groups. Number 12. Paul Anderson. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't. Regardless, Paul Anderson is one of the most important powerlifters ever to walk the earth. In fact, he's widely considered to be the strongest of strong, a man of unbelievable strength who routinely proved himself to those that doubted him. At the height of the Cold War, Anderson traveled to the Soviet Union for an international weightlifting competition. The Russians thought he was a joke and laughed as he prepared to pull off a then unheard-of lift, a 402.5-pounder. Of course, Anderson lifted the bar above his head, making this the heaviest weight overhead of any human in history. He'd go on to break 2 more world records and win a gold medal at the Olympics. When Anderson couldn't attend the 1960 Olympics, Russian weightlifter Yuri Vlasov beat his record from the previous event. And so Anderson did the next best thing. He lifted the same weight as the Russian 3 times in a row, very quickly. Nobody questioned his abilities after that. For some time, Anderson was the world record holder for the greatest weight ever raised by a human being. Unfortunately, the conditions were later deemed to be invalid, and the record was transferred to someone else. Still, there's no denying that Paul Anderson is one of the most legendary and important figures in American powerlifting. Number 11. Vasyl Vyrystyuk. It can't be easy to win Ukraine's strongest man 6 years in a row, but Vasyl Vyrystyuk makes it look easy. Vyrystyuk has been a consistent and formidable competitor in even the most challenging of contests. Vyrystyuk competed in the World's Strongest Man contest twice, winning in 2004. When he defeated the 2-time IFSA world champion Zydrunas Savickas in 2007, he became the first athlete in the history of strongman competitions to win both World's Strongest Man and an IFSA title. Not a bad legacy to forge. Vyrystyuk retired from the strongman in 2008 after being forced to withdraw from the Arnold Strongman Classic due to injuries. But rather than segueing into other sports like many athletes, Vyrystyuk decided to follow in the footsteps of Arnold himself.
Зараз є у хлопців можливість показати себе. Кожен із них може стати лідером.
Becoming an actor. Having not seen any of his Ukrainian movies, let's just assume he's excellent in all of them. The future of Oscar-winning actor Vasyl Vyrystyuk deserves his place as one of the world's strongest men. Frankly, any man that can consistently win an honor like Ukraine's strongest man 6 years in a row deserves the chance to star in a movie like Schwarzenegger's 1994 masterpiece Jr. That's all I ask. Number 10. Brian Siders. If Wikipedia, an online encyclopedia that can have anybody in the world contribute any information they wish, accurate or not, says that you're one of the strongest men to walk the earth, it must be true. I'm not talking about myself. Not yet, anyway. Brian Siders is apparently one of the world's strongest men, particularly in press movements. Since his Wikipedia claims he works out for 4 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, that's not a surprise.
Press! Squeeze it! Yeah,
It sounds exhausting, but it's not a surprise. His competitive powerlifting record is pretty impressive in its own right. Between 2002 and 2006, he won gold in the USAPL National Powerlifting Championships 5 consecutive times in a row. At the 2004 event, Siders broke a world record, lifting a total of 2,529 pounds. I, meanwhile, have mastered lifting the quarter pounder. Anyone at the Guinness World Records, I am waiting for your call. Given his lengthy list of competitive placements, it's pretty clear why his Wikipedia cites him as one of the strongest men ever. Somewhere, Hulk Hogan is crying because his Wikipedia does not say the same thing. Sorry, Hulk. Number 9. Andy Bolton. As with just about anything in history, somebody had to do it first. That also can be applied to powerlifting. I mean, who the hell thought it was a good idea to lift something weighing more than another human being? I bet they had a terrible back. Andy Bolton is a 3-time WPC World Powerlifting Championships winner, and the current WPO world record holder in the total. But Bolton is probably most well known for being the first man to ever deadlift 1,000 pounds. Or at least the first person to do it without either dying, breaking their back, or something similarly unfortunate. And as if that's not impressive enough on its own merits, Bolton made a 2010 appearance at a high school, where he deadlifted 964 pounds in nothing more than a pair of pants and a pair of socks. That'll show the kids. Bolton is clearly well-deserving of his place on this list, being a multi-record holder. That he decided to reaffirm his place in history wearing nothing more than pants and socks? Well, that's just straight-up legend territory. Number 8. Leonid Taranenko. It sucks to be a world record holder without an official record, and I should know because I have seen Ocean's 11 more than anybody, and yet all I've heard from the Guinness Book of World Records is get a job. Leonid Taranenko also has a record without a record, although it's kind of different. Taranenko broke a world record in 1988 when he performed a 288-kilogram clean and jerk, the heaviest lift in competition. Unfortunately, the record was later wiped from the official books due to the reconstructing of weight classes in 1993, 1998, and 2018. Still, this single clean and jerk remains the highest ever to be achieved in competition, which is a great achievement, or it was. Taranenko later admitted to having used performance enhancers supplied by the Soviet government throughout his career, so chances are he would have his record stripped away. Gotta love Soviet drugs. Taranenko may have soiled his own legacy, but you have to give the guy credit. Yes, he used performance enhancers, but, well, look at him. He could beat the hell out of you. Are you going to tell him he wasn't great? No thanks. Number 7. Brian Shaw. Most strongmen have intimidating and terrifying nicknames like the Silver-Tailed Killer or Bob the Angry, but Brian Shaw is actually known as the Gentle Giant. Don't be fooled though, he may be gentle when he's not working, but when it comes to powerlifting, he's an absolute monster. Shaw is probably best known for being a big guy who lifts heavy objects, but he's also known for winning the 2011, 2013, 2015, and 2016 World's Strongest Man competitions, which is a pretty impressive streak. He also has a most unique achievement, the first man to win the Arnold Strongman Classic and World's Strongest Man in the same year.
Well, this is the third one here in Ohio, and it feels really good. Absolutely.
Twice. He may be a gentle giant, but he's a straight-up badass when it comes to lifting things that would destroy the spines of us mere mortals. Recently, Brian has become something of a YouTube star, thanks to his popular channel, Shaw Strength, focusing on training, diet, and other fitness topics. Apparently, YouTube is a great place to go when you get tired of lifting heavy things. I'll have to keep that in mind when I eventually visit a gym. Number 6. Zeesh Breitbart. Easily the oldest guy on this list, Zeesh Breitbart is one of the strongest men you've never even heard of. During the 1920s, he was known as the strongest man in the world, or Eisenkönig, which means Iron King. For some reason, I don't think that has anything to do with his talent for Ironing, Breitbart's touring act was carefully designed to fit his experience as a blacksmith. As opposed to more modern strongmen, Breitbart didn't lift heavy objects. Instead, he would bend iron bars around him in curious shapes, bite through iron chains, tear solid steel sheets, hold back charging horses, pull a wagon loaded with people by the teeth, or have stones broken on his chest with sledgehammers. You know, really back to basics kind of stuff. Oh, and also, he once lifted a baby elephant while climbing a ladder and biting on a rope that was holding a locomotive wheel with 3 men suspended from it. Yes, a master of understatement. It's insane that people don't actually know who Zeesh Breitbart is. He's basically the OG David Blaine, but he also had a passion for the gym. Number 5. Adam Bishop. While many people dedicate their lives to being strong enough to lift several vehicles, some prefer to be a part-time strongman. Adam Bishop is one of these part-time lifters, often referring to himself as one of the little guys. At this point, we should probably note that Bishop weighs 320 pounds. In 2012, Bishop began competing in whatever strongman competitions took his fancy. By 2015, he was qualified for such major events as World's Strongest Man, steadily inching closer to success. In 2019, he finally reached the grand final of World's Strongest Man, finishing 9th overall.
Rob just kept telling me, it's like the last 12 months, but in reality, it's more like the last 10 years.
Bishop's proud outsider status makes him pretty fascinating in the world of strongman, where just about every competitor treats it as a life-or-death, high-stakes lifestyle. When Bishop won the 2020 Britain's Strongest Man contest, it probably didn't change him whatsoever. He is, after all, one of the little guys. Like many strongmen, Bishop likes to diversify his interests, competing in rugby and skeleton bobsleigh contests, as well as all the big man testosterone battles. It's like the old saying goes, variety is the strong man of life. Number 4. Mariusz Pudzianowski. Ladies and gentlemen, if Mariusz Pudzianowski proves too tricky to pronounce, let's just call him what those in Poland call him, Dominator. This is a strongman who won more than World's Strongest Man titles than any other athlete. 5. How many do you or I have? I'm too busy eating Cheetos to count. Because of that record-breaking streak, Pudzianowski is considered one of the greatest strongmen ever to compete. But we haven't even begun to look at other things he's achieved in his career. A total of 16 wins at the Strongman Super Series, 6 consecutive wins at Europe's Strongest Man, 7 Poland's Strongest Man wins, and 2 successive wins in the World Strongman Cup Federation Tournament. With that many Strongest Man titles, it's hard to imagine this guy as anything other than, well, one of the world's strongest men. After retiring from the world of strongman in 2009, Pudzianowski moved into mixed martial arts, with a current 13 wins out of 21 matches. Clearly, he's strong enough in just about any field in which he tries his absurdly strong hand. Number 3. Julius Maddox. When it comes to the world of powerlifting, it seems like everybody has their own world record. Well, I guess they need something to brag about, since how much do you lift is kind of an irrelevant question to them. Julius Maddox, or Irregular Strength as he's occasionally known, is an American powerlifter and current world record holder. In 2019, Maddox pressed 740 pounds, setting a new world record for the raw bench press, beating the last holder, Kirill Sarachev. In the same year, Maddox beat his own world record and set a new one when he benched 744 pounds. And, as if that wasn't enough, in 2020 he broke the record again, pressing 770 pounds. All of that raw. My body aches just thinking about it, which I guess is a sign that powerlifting is not for me. What a shame. Maddox is a big guy, weighing 440 pounds, and while we didn't get to go into his personal story, let me just say, he's a strong guy physically and emotionally. Maddox overcame some tough hurdles in his life, and honestly, he deserves the world record. His current goal is to bench 800 pounds, and he's hoping he gets there. Number 2. Eddie Hall. It's not really surprising to hear that a man with the nickname The Beast is a professional strongman, right? Or that he weighs 410 pounds, or that he has broken world records. I could go on. My point is that it seems pretty inevitable that Eddie Hall was going to become a world-class strongman, and if you ask some people, current world record holder. In 2017, Hall came first in the 2017 World's Strongest Man competition, arguably the peak of his professional strongman career. He also won 5 consecutive Britain's Strongest Man competitions, 6 UK Strongest Man competitions, and 2 England's Strongest Man competitions.
He would have done it anyway if he hadn't have done the 5th stone. I've been told he was the fastest to 4.
But his most impressive feat came in 2016, when he broke the world record for the deadlift, lifting 1,103 pounds, and beating his own world record, which he set earlier that day. Apparently the lift proved to be so heavy and intense that Hall passed out, which is really the least surprising thing in this whole video. I honestly don't understand why more of these guys aren't passing out regularly. Hall's record was eventually beaten by Hafþór Julius Bjornsson in 2020, though this new record is disputed by many, as it wasn't set in competition. Whether he's a current or former world record holder, Eddie Hall is undeniably the beast, and has more than earned his place in strongman history. Number 1. Hafþór Julius Bjornsson. Even if you're not all that familiar with the world of strongmen, you'll probably be familiar with this guy. Only you'll know him as Gregor the Mountain Clegane in HBO's hit series Game of Thrones. Apparently, he's not just one of the strongest men in our world, but the world of... I want to say Hogwarts? No, I'm kidding, I know it's Middle-earth. Bjornsson actually began his career in basketball, but a tragic ankle injury ended up cutting that short. As a result, he turned to a strongman career and quickly found his calling. Between 2011 and 2020, Bjornsson came first in Iceland's Strongest Man contest. Between 2010 and 2017, he won the Strongest Man in Iceland contest 5 times, which is apparently a whole other thing. He also won Iceland's Strongest Viking contest and Westfjord's Viking contest. I could go on. There are a lot of weird Icelandic competitions. Bjornsson has since gone international, winning Europe's Strongest Man multiple times, World's Strongest Man in 2018, and of course, he fought for Narnia in that HBO thing I haven't watched. I look forward to your comments. Which of these people do you think is the strongest? Let us know in the comments. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.